All right, welcome to session 1 of how to friggin' use Roll20. All right, so thanks for joining this thing. I'm going to record it. I'm going to post it on YouTube tonight. I'll send out a link to everybody to it, and we'll. So a couple of things. One, we're going to get into some stuff here, but I mean, the thing about Roll20 is that the more you learn about it, the more questions sort of pop up. I don't know everything there is to know about Roll20. There are certain elements that I just haven't had a chance to think, like how to work the API and some of the more esoteric elements of like animation and things like that. But maybe we'll have a chance to sort of work through those together. And but in the meantime, we're going to start by looking at the packages. Now, hitherto, up to now, the likelihood is, I don't know, has anybody purchased an annual package from Roll20 yet?
I did at one point.
Okay.
But it ran its course.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So
I got the +1.
Do you? Okay, cool.
Not the Pro.
Not the Pro. All right. So I have Pro, and I'll be the first to admit that other than, so you can see where the breakpoints are, other than the transmogrifier, I don't use most of this other stuff. So, but I've got Pro, and I've been using it for a while now, and I just sort of hang with it. My opinion, if you're just going to play, free is perfectly fine. And the free thing is perfectly fine. It works. You don't have anything to charge. You don't have to worry on it. But to DM, you really sort of need at the very least the plus model. And here's why. The first thing is the upload storage. So as a DM, you're sort of in charge of bringing all the material into Roll20, the maps, the tokens, the any of this stuff. It adds up. Now, I will say that 3 gigabytes is a pretty big warehouse. You'll be able to bring a lot of stuff in, and you probably won't end up hitting that cap anytime soon. I have the Pro. I have an 8 gigabyte storage. I have several. I mean, I'll just show you. I have this many games. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11. Not all of these are my games. Some of them I'm a participant in, but I have several of these, and I have not. Yeah, it's 3 pages worth of games, and I have not hit the cap yet. And in some of them, now I have deleted some of my older ones, like the old Council of Thieves stuff. I have deleted. We're never going to revisit it, but I use a lot of maps and stuff.
How do you delete those?
Is that a picture from Kingdom of Heaven?
Yeah, it is. So I believe it's in settings.
You have to launch the game.
Yeah, here you go. Delete game. So I'm not going to delete this, but maybe I can. Maybe I have one that I can delete.
Delete it.
I'm not going to delete that one.
No, you have to do it on my account. I was just curious. See, I don't see that settings.
Dreaming late one. Well, probably because most, if not all, of the games that you guys are in you're in as players. You're not the controller of the game, so you wouldn't be able to delete it.
Gotcha.
But yeah, if you One Shot, Riverbend, I got to keep all these. Avengers of the 5th. Oh yeah, I can delete this. Well, no, that's not mine.
Don't delete it. That's all right. I was just curious.
All right, yeah, but if you go into one of these, it's under settings, and you can see. This is I'm a player in this one,
so I don't launch the game. Okay.
Yeah, I don't have. Well, I'm a player in this, so I don't have the ability to delete it.
I see.
And I don't really need this, so I can omit it. But yeah, so basically that's what it is. So and like I said, I've got a lot of games. I upload and I'm DMing a half dozen of them, and when I have stuff that are already stored in there. So and I have not hit the 8 gigabyte thing. So if like, I'll just show you One Shot Spam a Lot is where I do, when I very occasionally do a one shot for people. And we'll get into some of this because you're looking at the can you guys see that screen?
Yes.
Do you see like a blue skull?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
That
cool.
looks familiar.
All right, yeah. So this is the Christmas one shot that I ran last year. But you can also see that you know, I have multiple maps here, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And you can also archive maps. So I've saved a bunch of other one-shot maps that I have. It's like, I'll just restore this one and show you what it is. This had to do with a different one, and it's, you know, all this stuff is here. But with the caps on data, the map counts, all the tokens count. You know, anything else that you bring in here is gonna, so you can see recent uploads and all those kind of things. All that stuff counts against that gig. So I would recommend, if you're gonna DM with any level of seriousness, even if it's just one campaign, I would go ahead and get the annual plus. They've got a thing going on right now, so if you get plus, you can see they'll give you a couple months free. So your yearly subscription of $50, in this case, if you were to start today, starts on, what's today, August 28th? No, it's
the 23rd.
23rd. So they're not actually starting you until October, end of October. So you get a couple months free, which is kind of nice if you wanted to do that. But yeah, I would say, and that also gives you access to dynamic lighting, the character vaults, all that kind of stuff that you will use as a DM.
Now, most of that, what you're describing as under DM's control. As a player, you don't really have to worry about that.
You don't need it. Yeah. Okay. If you're solely going to be a player, the free account is fine. Gotcha. But once you become a DM and you start DMing games and running games, then you're gonna want to get the plus.
Gotcha. Okay. And then if you buy a guest subscription, they would give you the same choices for the person that you want to get a subscription for?
That's correct. They will.
Okay.
And I believe they will also, if the person you're getting a guest subscription for already has a subscription in place, I believe that they will put it on the end of their subscription. So say if Tom,
yeah, well, you'd hope that.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that they do, that it doesn't cancel out their current one.
Right.
But yeah, it goes on to the end. So yeah, you don't lose anything.
Okay, very good.
Cool. All right. So did everybody get the email that had the test map in it?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right. So let's go ahead. I'm going to get out of here. Hold on a second. Let's go ahead and build one.
Download that.
All right. So I want you to all go into Roll20 under your account. I'm going to show mine. So that you guys can see how it kind of does, but I want you guys I'll follow along a little bit with how we do, so you can get some hands-on kind of working on it. Sound good?
Okay.
Yep.
All right, and I want you to so once you get logged into Roll20, I want you to go to Home. That's this area right here where all your games are, and you will probably see several of these like little windows that show the games that you are currently participating in.
All
right. So some of you will have some of these games. Some of you will have different games that you're doing, but almost all of you will have something. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do create new game. So once you get to that, is everybody at this screen?
Yep.
Are you still getting there? All right, go ahead and hit create new game. All right. Now you're going to get start new game. All right. So first things first, you're going to give it a name, and I'm going to call mine test game 1. Because I have a hugely creative mind in this regard.
You named it after Doug Kaufman's Test Female.
Right. Exactly. Test female 1. All right, so you can also put tags. Now the tags are for people searching for your game. So a lot of Roll20, if you look in some of the community stuff, you can see find a group, right? And there are a lot of games out there on Roll20 that will. Here, I'll show you what that looks like. Don't click it, but I'll show you here. I'll open it in a new tab. So you can find games to join. So I'm like, well, I'm a Pathfinder guy, so I'm going to select Pathfinder, but I don't like 2nd edition because ugh. So I'm going to do Pathfinder, and then only show games with mature content, only find games that are free to play. So So there's a couple of things here. Welcome new players means that you have not played the game before. So if you this is a nice way if you wanted to do something to maybe try a new game. Mature content, I'm quite mature, so mature content is okay with me, but it's not a default. So some games will, if there's a lot of kids out there who are playing this game who are not 18 yet. So, it may be that they don't want that. And I don't want to pay a DM for it. So there's a lot you'll find in a lot of these. There are a lot of these that are paid DMs. Actually, you know what? I'm going to uncheck this so I can show you what it is. And then we will hit find games. And this is going to show a couple of things. So on this side, you have pickup games. So these are games that are taking place tonight that you can jump into. One starting, it started a little while ago. A bunch of 8 o'clock games, D&D one shots, classic traveler. This is a learning game, and it shows you the game that has a link to it and how many people have signed up for it. But these are all like if you're just at night looking for a game to jump into, this could be kind of fun. But there's also ongoing games. So this guy is running Curse of the Crimson Throne, Pathfinder 1, 4 open slots. Next game is September 10th. Played every week, voice only, which means they're either using the onboard stuff or Discord. There's you can see there's all these games that are starting up in the next couple of weeks that are looking for players. But that's what you would normally use the tags for, because those tags are what make your game searchable. I mean, you're still kind of searchable, but in this case, you probably aren't going to, you're going to be probably playing with people you've already got it set up, you've already know who your players are going to be. You probably wouldn't necessarily need to put any tags here. Okay? Make sense?
Yep.
One thing that you're going to want to do is choose a character sheet. Now, it says optional, but character sheets is something we'll go into and we'll probably have to deal with a great deal. But this is largely the kind of game that you're going to be playing. So in this case, I'm going to do a Pathfinder game. So a Pathfinder first edition. So I'm going to go ahead and just scroll down because I want to use the Pathfinder.
And you can type Pathfinder in there and it'll come up.
Yeah, absolutely. You can do that. Yeah, you can and it'll come up and it'll give you all the options.
Pathfinder by Roll20?
Yeah, Pathfinder by Roll20 is first edition. Pathfinder second edition by Roll20. These are the character sheets that are on board inside the platform. So I'm going to pick this. You can see it'll show you the thing, and there's a guide that you can look at for tips and tricks on how to get the most out of it. But you want to do that. All right. And then you're ready. And then you say, I'm ready, create game, and boom.
You can also change those. You can also change that after the game is created. Because you can hit create game and then realize that, oh, I fucked up. So
yeah. All right. So here is your game thing. So a lot of times what I like to do is just quickly choose a quick file to show what the game's going to be. We're gonna choose this one here. It's a great shot of the Beast Raban. So there we go. Very nice. And then you have some other things. So you'll be playing. It'll say. I like to fill out these things. You don't have to. I like to. Add-ons. This is something. So as you progress, and we'll talk about this some other time, but you will accumulate some of this stuff. In my case, I want to use my area of effect. So I bought something called an area of effect template pack. So I want to use that. I'm going to add it to my game, and now it's in my game. Let me see. Is there any other add-ons that I want to use? I don't know. Let's see.
I've never even looked at that. Are these whatever's on your list?
Back up real quick. Where did you do that? How did you add that on area of effect template?
Yeah. So the area of effect template I bought in the marketplace. So let me go ahead and show you that. So let me just open this up.
No, I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying that was in the area playing.
Yeah. So here,
It's
so if you
add-ons.
if you scroll down a little bit, it's in game add-ons. So anything that you buy on the account level will show up here. And so one thing that Roll20 does sometimes is they'll give away free stuff. So several of these game add-ons are free. Cute creatures, for example, various kinds of things.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, so you'll get some of these. I'm going to put in the dynamic lights as well, just to pop that in there, so we have a couple of things to play with later. And it'll tell you it's been successfully added to the game. Recent game discussion, you don't have to do this. They give you a little bit of space inside the forums where you can talk with your players and that kind of stuff, which is of use to a lot of people, but wouldn't necessarily be of use to us. So content, yeah, you don't need that. Looking for players, no. Settings, game settings. So a lot of times I like to go into the game settings, and so go ahead and hit that. You can see settings for test game 1. So there's a variety of stuff here that you can control. All right, so allow public access to the game. Default is no. I'm not going to change it. I don't necessarily want a bunch of randos coming into my game. Show background image, shown as the background for the game details page in the looking for group. Hover over the image for preview. In this case, we'll take a look, and it'll give you some background image choices, or I think you can up your own. I usually just don't do anything. There. Allow players to import their own characters. Yes, I usually select this because it allows your players to work on their character sheets offline or in some other aspect. I have mine are called Skunkworks, so where I work on my characters, but allows them to work on them offline and import them into your game. So I usually change that to yes.
Unless on the first two things that you can select for your settings, unless you have a prescription, they do not give you an option. It's grayed out.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Public access to game is grayed out. Game background image is grayed out. Not that a big deal, but they just basically say consider, supporting Roll20. So
gotcha. Okay. All right. So there's other stuff here that will work. These are the defaults for your maps and the dynamic lighting, which you can easily do. So I'm gonna actually going to do this. We're gonna turn on. So I like to use the legacy settings, but I'm trying to teach myself not to. So what we're going to do is we're going to use dynamic lighting. So
now, what's the pros and cons on the legacy settings opposed to
the new ones? So I'm going to show my parochialism here. When I first started using Roll20, they didn't have the new kind. It was just what they call the legacy settings. Right. So I got used to using them. And so what I just default to using them because I'm comfortable with them. I've been trying to the new dynamic lighting settings are pretty good. So I've been trying more to use them. So we're going to use them here. So there's a couple of different options you can do, which is Explorer mode, which is wherever the characters have gone previously, it stays lit. I don't typically use that, but it's kind of cool, especially for outdoor adventures and things like that. Daylight mode, which lights the whole page, and update when token drop, which means that the lighting only updates for a particular character when they let go of and let it go. All of these are customizable inside the game, and we'll look at that.
Can you do that while the game is underway, or does this have to be done?
Oh yeah. No, you don't have to do it now. Yeah. So we're giving everybody vision. Typically, I have the tokens emit 30 feet of bright light, which is standard kind of thing, and also I'll usually give them another 60 feet of low light, which is sort of like in the distance kind of thing. Yeah, kind of in the distance. And that's it. The advanced legacy 70 units. So we're just going to go ahead and save those defaults.
And then do you go in for individual characters if they have dark vision, and you can
I go in and fix them.
Character. Okay.
Yeah, I'll show you how to do that. All right, so we're gonna go back to our game
real quick. Les, check the chat.
Okay. Oh, sorry. So tokens are essentially any creature that you have that you're looking for. So here, let me. That's it. Let me jump into a game and I'll show you that. I'll show you what it is. I'm going to do that. Go ahead and go back to games. We're going to launch this. A token is any. Well, it is. So yeah. So you answer your question, Eric. A token is essentially any character or monster or other thing necessarily. It could be terrain. It could be that is represented here on this that you put in here. That's not a map is a token. That's what they're referring to. So even inanimate objects can have sight and lighting. One thing that I like to do is I like to put in a little torch or a lantern or something that I have several of, and that becomes my test light. So that's what I use to test my dynamic lightings and see where it goes and things like that to make sure that everything's working properly and see where my gaps are. But we'll get to that. So, but yeah, anything that's not a map but on the map is technically a token. Okay. So here we are back and everything is sort of set up and we're ready to go. We've plopped our token marker shit in and all that kind of stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and launch this game. All right. So those of you who have never DM'd on Roll20, you're going to see something very different than what you're used to seeing from a thing. So one thing you're going to notice is that the toolbar is much bigger. You have several more of these things over here that you're going to deal with. And so we'll do that. So you can see a couple of things. You got your regular chat window. You've got your tools over here. You've got dark mode over here. If you click that, it just makes things dark instead of light. It can be cool for reasons, but it doesn't show to the other. Every individual player has control over that, and it's not a deal. I like light, but I've used dark sometimes. It's okay. One of the things that you will see right away is in the chat window. You'll have the player link for this campaign. So you guys will remember from the emails that I send out, I will send out the Roll20 link. This is the link I send out. You can just mouse over it and right click and it'll say copy link address. And that's typically what I do. And then I will plant it and you have the link right there. And it's the same as this link. And anybody that has this link can click it, go into Roll20 and come to this game. So that's what I use to invite people to games. You have a lot of new tools over here, right? So you know the pointer. So this is the levels, all right? So one thing that you don't have as a player that you have as a DM is you have levels. They're roughly analogous to, like, for those of you who have used like Adobe Photoshop or something like that, it's sort of analogous to those kind of levels that you can build into like graphic design or something like that. Map, so there's 4 of them. Map and background, which is where you put the map. The stuff that you put on map and background level does not move unless you're on map and background level and the players do not have access to it. So that's where we're going to put the map in a minute. Objects and tokens is the one you will be on the most. That is the primary level. That has all of the players. It has all of your monsters. It has all of the stuff that you're going to do. That's the primary play field, is called objects and tokens. The GM info overlay is a really nice thing that they added in here, which is essentially a interstitial level that you as the DM can move things back and forth on. So I'm gonna show you an active game that I have. Any of you no, none of you are in Wrath of the Righteous. So let me show you what I got going on in Wrath of the Righteous.
I just not realized which game that was. How fitting that picture is.
So you can use the GM layer for a lot of different things. All right, so this is a map that they are currently on that they played in on Sunday night, okay? You can see that I have so this is sort of what we were referring to as the Nexus. This is sort of a crossroads thing. But I've put several things on the GM layer that they can't see. So in this case, the most obvious one is the notes. So you can use this tool, which is the shape drawer, and one of the options that you have is text. So if you go to the GM overlay level, you will have access you can write text. So a lot of times what I'll use this for example, and you got to make sure that you use decent size because these shrink. So I usually use white 32. And it basically puts them in there. And a lot of things that, so usually after the game is bailed out, I'll go in here and I'll have a couple of things in my notes. One of the things that I always forget is what spells they currently have going on in the battle. So I'll say something like bless everyone. Everyone has bless on them. And then I'll put like prot from evil on Gato, right? And that way, and it's like a little note, and I usually stick it up in the corner that reminds me what's going on from a spell standpoint. The players cannot see this. So what I'll show you is this is the player view. So as a DM, you can switch back and forth between DM and player, which is really nice. So you can rejoin as a player, and it will reload the Roll20 window.
What did you click to do that?
Okay, so I went into the settings,
okay,
and I went down to the bottom, and there's a little button here. At that point, when you're in as GM, it says rejoin as player.
Gotcha.
When you're here in as player, it says rejoin as GM. So you can see that this is what the players see. And it gives you as the DM, and it gives you an idea of, if people are saying something's messing up and that kind of stuff. But you can see they cannot see. So you can see a couple of things here. One, you can see the areas where the dynamic lighting is working, right? And you can also see that you can't read the notes that I've set for myself because those are on the GM later. You can also see the toolbar doesn't allow you that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go back as GM. I'm going to rejoin as GM. And it just kind of goes back into all the tools. See? So basically what I'll put, these doors lead to different encounters and that kind of stuff. And, what you can also do, and what I like to do is, in addition to notes, you can mark places. So say one of these is a trap, and you don't want to forget it. What you can do is you can actually say this particular statue is a trap. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. What you can do is you can draw a shape. And what I like to do is put like a little circle around it or square around it that only I can see. Now this, I fucked up because I'm back on the object and tokens thing, which means if I go to players, the players will be able to see it. So what I'm going to do is
DM overview?
DM overlay.
Yeah, you want to send it in. So what you can do is you can select it, you right click, and there'll be a little menu here that says layer. You can send it to the GM layer and it disappears for the players, but you can still see it.
Okay, interesting.
You can also bring in warriors. So we'll go to the GM layer and you can bring in other tokens. So a lot of the stuff you have, and it keeps some of the material that you've uploaded, right? So it'll have a list of the most recent things that you've uploaded. So in this case, I want to bring over this guy. And so usually it can be a little tricky. So usually you have to click on these 3 lines. Come on, quit being a pain. And you can bring it over here. Oh, it's working. So you can see it's on the map and I can see it, but the players would not be able to see it. This is great for if you want things jumping out at the players or you don't want them to immediately see everything the moment they walk in the room, that kind of stuff. You use the token, the DM layer for that. The GM.
I have a question.
Sure.
So whenever I've DM games on here and whatnot, all of the uploads that I've ever uploaded have been on the side, and I've tried to create folders, but for some reason the folders do not ever work.
Okay.
How the fuck do they work?
All right. So
what am I doing wrong that the folders just don't want to cooperate?
So the folders are a little tricky. So you want to add, we're going to go ahead and do that here. So we're going to add a folder called test folder. And then we're going to move.
And what heading are you under? You're in my library?
Yes. I'm in my library. You can go to premium aspects and it has some of the stuff that you've bought, right?
Oh, okay.
So
Gotcha.
there's free stuff, there's stuff you've bought, there's free assets here. Some of them are not great. but this is in my library. All right, so you've got test folder here. See it? There's nothing in it, so it's not really showing anything. To get stuff in there, you have to grab on the 3 lines, click and hold down, and move it in there. And you have to kind of like wiggle it. So you see how the blue space has sort of slotted itself underneath the words test folder? That's what you need to have before you let go. Then you let go
when you hover over it.
Right, and then you can close it, and that kind of stuff.
Took me a while to figure that out.
It does, yeah. It's a pain. So like,
so
if you want,
instead of putting it directly over test, you put it just slightly under test.
Right. So you grab it by the lines, click and hold down, move it over there. See, if you put it over, it's going to end up above it. It's not going to be in the folder. If you put it under, it's going to end up in the folder. One thing to keep in mind is that these things don't auto sort by alphabetical or anything like that either, and I don't think you can do it. So it's like, oh well, T comes before Y, and I'm really anal, so I'm going to move this so that it's in alphabetical order, so it's easy for me to think. And then you can just so it's open now. You can click this little minus sign, and it closes up.
So in that's also where your like marketplace purchases are, and
well, no, that's different. Right. So that's different.
I also just realized, and I'm sorry if you said this before, but you do need to turn it to like a minus before that works.
Right. You need to have it open. Right. If it shows a plus, it's sort of closed. You have to have it open. Yeah, it's a little weird.
Annoying.
So, Tom, you mentioned things that you buy. That's in a different place. This is your library of stuff that you upload from your computer. This premium assets is the stuff that they have given you. So one thing I've always wanted to use is, hey, look, Frog Warriors. This is awesome. I got to use some Frog Warriors. That's a Frog Warrior. I'm just going to pop that guy right in there. And sure enough, it'll go in there. You do get some stuff. For stuff that you buy, it's in this one, which is Journal. And I don't know why they do this.
Is it? Well, see, I'm looking under premium assets, and it does show my marketplace purchases of the Lost Mines that they gave away.
Oh, maybe it
Master Pack.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I mean, they kind of like. So I was thinking of like my area of effect templates, right? So I use these for area of effects, and this is something I bought, but it ended up in here. So I don't know why that is. Yeah, but they are in this journal area. So this is actually quite interesting because you can, and we'll do this at some other time, but you can add different characters. This is where you would have character sheets, handouts, PDFs. You can stow a lot of things in here. For example, I'll give you, in this game, I had the players met with a demon princess, and one of the things that they had was they all viewed her in a different way. So all of the characters, I found very basically images on the internet, and it was like how each character sees this demon princess in their own way. So like Flashheart is a paladin, so this is how he saw her, and you can see how this works. You can show it to players and it shows to everybody, but you can have different things, and you can line them out. You can show to certain specific players and not others, and that kind of stuff. But like Lothar, who's a priest of Erastil, sees her in a very different way, more of a naturalistic setting, that kind of stuff. And I wanted to emphasize that all of them saw her very differently, that kind of stuff. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. So anyway, that level is usable for that. And then you have the dynamic lighting level, and you can see the red lines. Those are my dynamic lighting lines. We're going to get to that in just a moment. So, but this is basically how those work. So in your test here, you've got your brand new map. Its default here is 25 by 25, and it is what are we doing there? I don't know what this is. Oh, okay. Here's dynamic loading. So it's an explainer. But you can see a couple things. So if we go up here, you can see that there's a little ribbon here that says players. You can build maps in advance, right? So you have the create new page here, which you can call next map, hit enter so that it sticks, because if you don't hit enter after you type in the name, it won't stay and it'll go back to like new map or whatever it says. But you can you can move. When the players move onto this map, you grab and hold down to the player ribbon and you physically move it over there and the map will change. And then, but remember, the blue line shows what you're looking at. So you also have to click on this map so that you go there as well. And you can see that there now we have a brand new map. You guys, have you guys done that on your own?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to import. So before we do that, I want to talk to you about your first map. So this start page, I like to set aside as a start page for the entire adventure. So so you see here, I've got several maps in the other one that I was working on. So I'm going to go to this one that just says A Team, which is the name of the thing. And you can see what I've done is I put a map up here of the world wound, but, oh, sorry, we're on. You can see I've got all of the characters here, plus a few characters that have disappeared, that kind of stuff. It's got a little background, that kind of stuff. I like to use the first map as this place where I can put all of the characters in one spot for a couple of reasons. One, when the characters pass a level, I usually bring them back to this place by, again, grabbing the player ribbon and taking it back over here, which means that if you're a player in this game, this is the screen you're seeing, so that they can upgrade their characters on this map. And then when I need them to go back into the adventure, I can just grab all of them, copy paste, and plop them into the new map where the new adventure is, and everybody is updated. We'll talk a lot more about this before, but I like to reserve this first one for that kind of thing. Also, the benefit of it is if we're on this page and they are registered players in this game, they will have access to this page while I'm not here, right? So if you have played in this game or any of my games, you can actually click one of the links and you can go into Roll20, and I'm not here as the DM, and you can actually move your character around. And I've had people who will sort of investigate the map while I'm not there by wandering around in the halls. And
is that because that's on the player ribbon is left on this map? Or
right, exactly. If the player ribbon is left on this map,
okay,
then the player has access to this map outside of game time. It's a good thing because they can come in and they can work on their character sheets and they can upgrade their character sheets in here, and that's a good thing. If you have a nefarious player or somebody that you don't necessarily trust, they can wander about and you wouldn't necessarily want them. So if you have a couple of those players, what I'd like to do is basically whatever map they happen to be on when the game pauses for that night, after everybody logs out of Zoom, what I'll do is I'll take the player ribbon and I'll put it back to here so they start back. When they come back in, they're at this place where they can't really do any damage, but they can still access their characters and do some of the work that they want. But it keeps people from going on walkabout inside your carefully crafted maps.
But to access their characters, though, they can just go to their character pull-up, right? They don't even need that map. Okay.
Right, yeah, they can just go into here. So here's Ilandar's character. You can open it up, and this is largely what they see. And what you have here is this. You have the character sheet.
That's how you work on your character.
Okay. Yeah, and you can go in here and you hit edit basically, and you can go in here and work on it.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So in this case, I like to reserve that first one for that to keep the tokens thing, and then you can move it back and forth. But in this case, we're going to do a map. Now you'll remember I set some of the defaults, so we already have. You can see how it's sort of gray compared to the other one, which was white. This gray overlay is indicative of the fact that we already have dynamic lighting going. Now we haven't set anything yet. We don't even have a map on here, so there's nothing to block the light, but this gray indication tells you that dynamic lighting is operational at this point. So one of the things we're going to do is if you hover over this map, and I want you guys to do this as we're doing it along, so I want you to test this. You see a couple of items over here that I'll give you some things. So this first one is duplicate, which is a really nice thing if you have I don't know, players who who take a long rest during the thing, and you have to redo the map because the enemies are regrouping and trying to figure out how to do it. Tom, I would say, and Eric. In the Giants ones. So Tom and Eric basically in one of our campaigns, they were attacking giant layers of giants, and they would come to a point where they would have to retreat, rest up, get a night's rest so they could regroup and attack in the morning. Well, what I would do is I would take the map that they were in and I would duplicate it, and then I would move all the stuff around to indicate the kind of sort of regrouping, retrenching, setting traps that the enemies would do while the invaders were sleeping, while the party was sleeping or resting and that kind of stuff. So it was a really nice thing. Plus, if you had a standard size that you like, and you're using a certain kind of map, or you want to do, there are some maps that have like 4 maps. It's like I saw a really great map where it was a cave map, but it was a lava flow map. So the first map, there was a series of like 5 maps, and the first map didn't have any lava, and then the second map had lava, and the third map had more, and the 5th map had like it was filled with lava, and it sort of created this kind of very interesting thing. You can build that, and you can just duplicate that. It will duplicate a lot of things. So you can duplicate the map and the lighting, so you have an exact sort of thing. You can duplicate the objects and the tokens, the GMO. You can duplicate everything, but you don't have to. If you just want the map and the lighting, you can uncheck these boxes, and it won't duplicate them. Okay. The next one is trash, which is obviously, do you want to delete a page? It will not allow you to delete a page that your players are on, so you would have to move this ribbon before you could delete it. But it allows you, if you make a mistake or you want to do something, you're like, oh, that didn't fucking work, you can delete it. And then here's this next one is the page settings, the bottom one. This is the one where you'll spend the most time. So this is page settings. So you can see a couple of things. One, very basic, the size of the map. It comes in pixels or cells. I usually use cells, and that's the squares. And a lot of the maps that you find on the internet will have those grids already built in. I just want to show you what I do. So I've got Google Images here, right here. Can you guys see that? Google Images?
Yes.
If you Google battle map or D&D battle map, you will get so much shit. It's unbelievable. So I'm like, so the other day I was looking for an abyssal battle map, or let's look at, and it'll give you some options. Oh, crypts. I need a crypt. I'm going to do crypt battle map D&D.
These are all free downloads?
Yeah, these are all on the internet, either in Pinterest and stuff. What I like to do, you can see the grid is already on there. So I steal these things with alacrity. So, and it'll give you, if you're like, oh, I like the look of this crypt, but it'll give you some other options. Well, maybe you'll like the looks of these fucking crypts, that kind of thing. So what I like to do is I will go ahead and I right click over the image, and I usually say open image in new tab. And then it just shows the raw JPEG itself. Then I right click again, save image as JPEG image. Put it in here. We're going to call this test crypt. Boom. And now you have a thing. Just to show you, over the 10 years or 9 years that I've been doing this, I'm just going to give you, now these are the maps. I'm just going to show you the maps I haven't used yet, but I have collected. So, all right, so you see all these, these are my various kinds of things. So these are map packs that I bought, that I've acquired. Those aren't part of really my maps, but here's my maps folder. Now these, again, are maps that I collected because I thought they were cool, but I haven't used yet. So you can see there's a bunch of folders of maps, but then here's just like raw maps that I've collected. We'll just scroll through some of these here.
What'd you do? You said you saved the image as something, and then
I just save it to this map folder. You can see map after map. Let me go ahead. This is going too slow, so let's just go ahead and go to details, and you can see these are all the maps that I have collected over time that I haven't used. Now this is just my waiting in the wings kind of collection. Probably should have organized these in some way. Just kind of got them like sitting here, but.
So the problem I've had is getting that grid from your map to line up
to line up, right?
On my page.
Well, you are in luck because that is what we were going to do today. So page settings. All right. So with 2525, you can do this to accommodate your map. I usually just use the cells because it's easier. You can also control the scale, right? So in this case, the cells are 5-foot squares, right? Which is largely the one you're going to use most of all. But you can make it 10-foot squares, 20-foot squares, whatever you want to use. You can also change the grid type. So if you want hex, you can get hexes. If you want isometric, when I love isometric maps when I can use them, those of you guys in my Saturday night game are in the middle of an isometric map that I love. It'll give you an isometric map. And you can do the same thing where it's sort of like all that kind of in there. I don't even know what a dimetric map is. What the hell is that? Oh yeah, that's isometric, I guess, in certain ways. You can also have vertical hexes too. So, but usually you're going to use the 5-foot square. You can see measurement D&D compatible. It's fine. It works for Pathfinder too. You know, whatever. We could change it. Whatever. Cell width is a single cell. You can control the opacity. So I remember I told you that this gray is going to be over there. You can do that. This color is interesting, and you will use this sometime, especially when we get to sizing maps here in a minute. This is the color of the grid. So in this case, the grid is gray, but I like to have a bright grid, especially if I have a dull map, because sometimes those gray grids can sort of just like bleed away. So, and especially for just like, as I'm lining things up, I'll usually pick a nice bright color, usually yellow or green. So I'm just going to go ahead and make this yellow. We don't want it. I never use fog of war. I usually tone down the GM darkness opacity because it's just like weird. They also allow you to play music when you come in. I never use that. But that's the sort of things that you can have and you can alter in here. Then you have the dynamic lighting tab. We did this in the thing, but if you haven't done it as a default for your game, you're going to want to come in here, turn dynamic lighting on. Depending on what it is, you may want to do some of these modes. In this case, we don't have any tokens on here yet, so it's not giving me token level stuff. This is just for the map. So we're going to go ahead and we've got dynamic lighting on. We've got our page settings set up. I'm actually going to change the size a little bit to 32 by 32. Just make it a little bigger. I just change those. They've got the little dudes here you can use as well. And I'm going to go ahead, and what you do is you hit save settings, and it saves all your settings. So you can see the map. See the map grid now is that yellow color. Can you guys see that in Zoom? It's hard to see, kind of.
Yeah, it's lean in.
Yeah, it's not great. So I'm looking at this, and the yellow is not making me happy. So I'm going to go ahead and change it to red. So I just go back in, hit the yellow, change to red. Boom. Much easier to see. Okay.
It doesn't hurt the eyes quite as much.
No, it does not. All right. So we've got our map base. We've got our 4 levels. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the map and background level. And that is where we're going to place our map. So generally speaking, you have already downloaded your map or found your map or bought your map or you brought it in from somewhere. I also do like screenshots of maps from the digital book. So a lot of times I'll get the PDFs. For a lot of Pathfinder stuff, I have the interactive map book, which I can show you and share with you, what I'll do is I'll just screenshot it and save it. In most of my games, I have, let's see, what do we got here? None of you are in. So yeah, some of you are in Strange Aeons. So none of you are in Wrath of the Righteous. So what I have is I'll have all the materials for that game. So usually I'll have a folder called Map Room, and this is where I save all of my maps, screenshots, jokes, tokens, everything I use for this game that's an image for Roll20. I keep in Map Room, and I have one of these for all the games that I do. So like, in one case, they broke into a vault and I made, some signs that were on the outside of the vault, kind of thing. There's just I have a variety of different stuff in here. So like notes, maps, battle maps. This particular thing is a PowerPoint presentation, which I use to build some informational materials that I put in there. about, you can see here's PowerPoint. So it was about Yaniel, who was this thing, and then there was like a little note that they found. So what I did was I make it in PowerPoint, screenshot it as an image, and then put that image into Roll20 as a handout. And that's how we can do it. But we'll deal with that kind of stuff later. But yeah, you can basically, I just set aside a place where I save all my stuff associated with the particular account, with a particular game. I also, and I'll show you some of these tools to make tokens and invisible backgrounds and stuff like that. We'll show those. But basically what we're going to do here is we're going to go and we're going to get our map. Now I'm doing this all on one screen so you guys can see it. So I'm going to size this down, but you'll be able to do it on it. Basically you want to be where you can click and hold down your map, and you basically click, hold down, and just sort of drag it over until it says copy, and then let go, and it'll upload the map. All right, so here we go. We've got a map in here. For some reason, it has its own dynamic lighting going on, which is interesting. I didn't know that was a thing. So we're going to try and
now, does it automatically line up to the squares?
No, it does not. You can see, so one of the things, I'm going to move in real close here so you can see it. So you can see that this map has squares on it, but the red squares are very much different. So we're going to do that in a minute once I turn off the dynamic lighting on it. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to just double click on it and it'll give me this token settings. So dynamic lighting, yeah, it's on because we set the defaults, remember? So I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to turn off emits bright light. I'm going to turn off low light. I'm going to turn all that stuff off, save it. Now we're back to normal. Okay. All right. So the reason you want to be able to see your lines is a lot of times. So when I'm sizing a map, so I've got this map, I'm sizing it. What I'll do is I'll put it in the corner, and it's sort of, and it will snap too. So a lot of you know that if you hold down the Alt key, you can put things in between the lines. If you don't hold down the Alt key, if you try and put them in between the lines, it'll go to the edge. So what I'll use is I'll just sort of push it over here, and it'll pop it right into the corner, which is what I like. And then I'll just grab the corner, and you can see if you grab the corner as opposed to the line, if you grab the edge, it will stretch the image, which you don't want, right? So go ahead and do Control Z to take that back. What you want to do, if you grab it by the corner, it will maintain the proportions, which is what you want for a map. All right. So now the squares are a little bigger. So as you can see, we can go in and you can see the squares are starting to a little bit approach some of the size, but they're still not right. So what I'm going to do is over the top of this map, I'm going to right click. I'm going to select Advance, and I'm going to say Align to Grid. Okay. Grid alignment tool allows you to quickly size your maps. Click and drag to create a box the size of a 3x3 grid. So you remember, we want to be able to see both grids. So what we do in this case to do this is we're going to go close to the map, and we want to select a set of a 3x3 grid on the map itself, not our grid, but the map grid. So kind of just grab here and hold down, and it basically opens this up, and you can see that I've selected 3 down and 3 across. I've tried to get as close to the lines on the map as possible, right? So here it'll tell me, okay, your grid cells look like it's 55 to 56. Those should be pretty close to equal to each other. This is okay. 55 to 66, we'll resize the map so that it matches your custom grid. Should we proceed? Yes, align to grid. Sometimes if you fuck up the thing and you let go, or you let go of your mouse button on everything, it'll screw up. You can say try again, but usually you're good to go, and you hit align to grid. And what it does is it tries to conform your map squares, which you have identified, into the same sort of squares as the thing. And in this case, I think we nailed it. So what I look here for is are my red lines on top of my black lines? That makes sense. Often as not, they will be a little off. You'll see, and I'm just going to tweak this a little bit. I'm going to realign it so that it's wrong. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it this way. Whoops. Cancel. Hold on. Fucked it up there. So I'm going to hit align to grid, and I am going to mess up the grid. See how I kind of pooched that a little bit? It's not right. I'm going to go ahead and say, all right, so you can see how the red grid and the black grid are not aligned. Okay, this is going to happen quite a bit, and it'll make you crazy unless you can do a couple of things. So one thing I like to do is I like to do horizontal first, right? So what I'm going to do is manually try and align it. So you see where the black lines are. What I'm going to do is usually I go in first and I try and align the black lines with the red lines. And sometimes you have to go in a little bit, but you see how I've gone a couple. So I usually go square by square, right? So now you see how they're sort of in the middle. The black lines are sort of in the middle of the red lines. What I'll do is I'll kind of scooch it and I'll look at one particular square and then I'll sort of look around to see if the other lines are matching. And in this case, they are definitely not. So I'll move in, I'll move in another square, line up the black lines. Okay, so now we're starting to see that those black lines are pretty well aligned on the horizontal plane, right? You see how they're all lining up? I'll move it down a little bit. You see how they're disaligned now, the horizontal lines, but if I push them forward, now they line up. You guys see that okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so what I'll do is I will oftentimes to keep it. So this map is still going to want to snap too, and we don't necessarily want it to. So what I'll do is while I'm still holding down the thing, it's still, my mouse pad is giving me a fit here. So I get it kind of lined up. I'm going to go ahead and press down the Alt key before I let go of that little mover. That way I know it'll stay right where I want it and it won't snap to and throw my shit off. Then I'll go to vertical and the vertical lines over here, and I'll do the same thing. I'll try and usually I push inward to try and match the vertical lines. And I don't know why it's being a douche, but here we go. All right, so I'll try and match them inward. So you see if I push in a little, it's still not matching that well. So I'm going to push in a little more. That's a lot closer, and but we still have some pretty significant differences that don't seem to be working. So I've been pushing in. I'm thinking, well, maybe I should try pulling out. So I'm going to pull it out to see if pulling out is going to work better. That's what she said.
Glad someone said that.
I'm getting closer here, so I'm going to go ahead and pull out one more. It's still kind of giving me, it's not working the way I want it to. So I'm pushing a little more, see if maybe I missed it, but I will keep
You're trying to compare the black and red lines so they match?
The vertical lines so they match.
Okay.
And it's just not really working. I think I might have skewed the map in ways that
been there, done that.
Yeah. So in this case, I'm like, I'm close, but it's not really working. So what I can do is I'm gonna do a line to grid again and try it again. So I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna be much better about my lines this time. And I jigged when I should have jagged, which happens when you use a mouse. So I'm just gonna go ahead and reset that. Let go there. All right, 74 by 69. I'm going to hit a line, see if that works. And sometimes it's just trial and error, but a combination of sort of moving your map and tweaking your grid. So this is pretty close. So I'm going to go ahead and move it in a little bit. That's pretty close. I'm starting to get a lot closer to where I need to be from a grid standpoint. Keep in mind, it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, there you can have a little bit of scooch room on stuff like that. It's okay. But this isn't this isn't rocket science, frankly. If you're a little off and you just can't seem to get that map to work, it's okay. As long as it's playable, as long as you feel like it's close enough for government work, that's okay. All right, this looks pretty close. We're going to say that this is good. So in this case, we have a little flash on the X. We got a little excess map on the side. So what I like to do is I'll say, okay, I've got 7 extra squares on this side, and I've got 7 extra squares on that side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in here. And this is just a thing that I do. I like to trim it up. I'll go back in here. 32 minus 7 is 25. 32 minus 7 is 25. I'm going to save that, and it takes away, it sort of trims up that map. And you've got a map. How did it go on yours? You guys still having trouble? Is everything working all right, or?
Nope, I got it.
I'm good.
If you have those extra squares, your players will see that, though. Correct?
They will, which is why I use them. I use them because a lot of times I'm bringing in maps. I don't know the exact size of the map that I've just stolen from the internet. So I will sometimes go back. I'll default maybe to a bigger map so that I have room to work on it, and then I'll trim it up at the end so that it's so that it doesn't have anything.
Okay.
All right. All right. So that's the map. We come off the map, and then the next thing I usually do is dynamic lighting. So we're going to go into the dynamic lighting tab. You can see this little flame here. So there's a couple of things that I do for dynamic lighting. I like to
build the wall.
So it's a wall. Where's my colors? Where's my colors? I want my colors. Oh, here we go. All right. So this is a legacy, sort of a legacy thing that I do. But what I like to do is I like to do my walls in red and my doors in yellow, if that makes sense. Anything that's going to stay block, a dynamic lighting block, I like to do in red. Anything that I may delete later because a door opens or that kind of stuff, I like to do in yellow. In this case, we've got a map that doesn't have any doors on it, but it does have a few plants. So the first thing I'll do is I'll look at this map and I'll say, all right, what is I'm looking at here that I'm not going to let the guys see through? Well, we've got some busted down walls here. We've got a plant. We've got some of these like little hedgerow looking things. So the first thing I'm going to do is, and what I like to do is I like to take the polygon line tool. I find that's the most, but you can use draw shapes or something like that if you're, or freehand if you're comfortable with that. But I like the polygon line. And what I'll do is I will go ahead and select red as my primary. So this is where we're going to be. So we're going to go okay there. All right. And so the polygon line works. It's sort of like point to point to point.
One quick question. How'd you get that? How'd you get the wall and the regular, what are you going under to get that?
Oh, this is just in this tool right here. So here's the dynamic lighting. We're on the dynamic lighting level. The tool directly below it is the drawing tool.
Okay.
And if you select any if you select any of these tools, it'll give you this. This is just the dynamic lighting tool, and allows you to determine, walls, one-way, transparent walls. That I don't know why you would build a transparent wall.
Is that new? I don't remember seeing that wall.
Yeah, it's relatively new.
Okay. I guess.
And then this allows you to, what size line you're going to make. So this gauges the drawing tool. So I usually use regular and wall. That's most of what you're going to need. And so what I do is, and I'll pick a place, and I usually like to have some scooch room around it so that the players can, because if you block out everything, the players can't see what it is. So I like to do it kind of like this way, where I'll start here. Whoops, undo. So I like to start sort of here, and it makes a little, you can sort of see that little red button, and then you click and hold, you click and it'll go to here. And you just click and it'll follow your lead, and then you go over to here, and by hitting the escape key, that makes a wall. And this way, if we'll go to the tokens thing, and what I'm going to do is let's see, I need a light, so I'm going to get one of my lights here. Do I have a light? Let's see, this dark and modern world. We're going to use this fruit bat as our light. So you can see that, and I went back to the options. So you can see that the fruit bat is already giving off light. But if you could see can you see sort of around it where it's hitting that wall and the shadow? You guys see that?
Yeah.
Yep, can see that.
All right, so this is obviously DM view, but a player would not be able to see what's behind that wall as they go around. But they would be able to see that it is a wall. In fact, I'm going to go over to the player's side right now. I hope I was actually on this page. Otherwise, I'm going to look stupid. Yeah, that's not my character, that thing, so I got to go back. So that character isn't assigned to me. So hold on, I'm going to fix it here, or try to fix it. So this is the kind of thing that can be really frustrating with dynamic lighting, especially the new dynamic lighting, is you have to have all the sort of beans in order. I'm going to do controlled by all players, and I'm going to put me in there just for fun. And then we'll go back. rejoin as player now. We should be able to see it. I hope. Let's hope this works. Otherwise, we're going to be crap. Yeah, it did. Okay, so there you go. So I could see this, and you can see that this is what the player sees. So I use the lines because you could see if I had made this like perfectly boxed out, you wouldn't be able to tell that there's a wall here. So I just use the single line usually to make that happen. But that's kind of what it looks like. And you see the creature has a 60-foot range, but you can see also it has low light vision, so it can sort of see things sort of outside of it, which is kind of cool, sort of in the distance. Maybe it makes it out, maybe it doesn't. If there's another creature in there, that kind of thing. But it's like the shadows. So that's how I like to do it. But you can see how it just blocks that right out. So we'll go back to the
quick question. I know you mentioned this. How'd you get your color for your wall? Because I had that.
I'll show you.
I'm not seeing it now.
Yeah, it's probably black. So you have to be on the dynamic lighting tab.
Sorry, gentlemen.
And then I usually select the tool that I want to use, and it automatically sort of brings there. To get the color, you click on this little checkbox thing over here.
Okay.
And it gives you this. So I'm going to go back to red.
Now I got it.
There we go.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, they changed that a little bit.
Yeah, they do. So so what I'll do is I'll do the walls, right? I'll just do these walls real quick, and I'll just do it. Remember to stop it from following you. Like, all right, so I did that wall. I'm going to go over do this wall. Oh shit, my wall to win. That's not what I want. So so I do Control Z, and it takes it back. Hit Escape, and then it locks the wall. Then you start from scratch, and then you would do this one, the little wall here. Hit Escape, and you can see the colors change. I'm going to do these walls real quick here. And it doesn't have to be precise. It's usually, you know, you can get close and it's pretty good. We'll do this one. And this one, these ones are connecting. So I'm just going to go ahead and cross over here and make a little sort of zippity-doo there. And there you go. All right. So I've done the walls. So now so I'm looking at this map and I'm like, well, there's some bushes I don't want to do. So in this case, rather than use the line tool, I'm going to use the draw shape. And so you can see when you select draw shape, hold Alt for a circle or an ellipse, and hold Shift to snap to the grid. So what I'm going to do is I like these. I'm going to use yellow for these just to keep them straight. I'm going to select yellow in my thing. And then I'm going to hold down my Alt key because I want an ellipse. And I'm just going to put this here like that. And then I'm going to do these guys like that because these are like bushes, right? And you can't really see through them, but you can see through parts of them.
Do you
but
need
it's
to
not really
press the escape key for these as well?
No, you don't have to press escape key. These are discrete objects. So once you let go of it, it does it. And I like this big tree here, but I don't want them to see around it. So I'm going to do that in here too. I'm going to make this hard to see through as well. But you can see through some of it, right? This will represents the trunk. So if we go back over and look at it as a player, and I like to hum the theme from Final Jeopardy when we do that. You can see, there's my frog guy. So you can see all of these things are interacting with it now. And as I move, various things come into it. But you can see the bushes. I can't, you can see the bush, but you can't see through the bush. And you can't see on the other side of it until you go on the other side of it or go on the other side of the wall. See how that works? Usually I like to have my little lighted thing in here so I can test things out, make sure it looks the way I want it to look. Now I forgot to do these two bushes, so you can see I just look right through them, and I'm like, ah shit, I forgot those two bushes. So what I'll do is I'll go back and I'll put those on there. It seems a bit complicated at first. Once you get the hang of it, it will move really smoothly. And a lot of times when I'm doing maps, I'll have YouTube videos or music playing in the background and just sort of like bopping and doing my maps as I go. Make sense?
Kind of.
When you start to have multiple guys on here, that's when, hold on, because I'm a player, I can't copy it. So I'm going to go back into GM. So yeah, it's a little bit tricky at first, but trust me, once you get the hang of it, it's going to go very smoothly, and you're going to be doing it all the time. And there you go. Now, say I didn't want this guy. Oh, this is a monster. I don't want these guys, the players, to see this. I can right-click over it, take it down to the GM layer. Poof, gone. I can still see it. They can't see it. And you can see it's not generating the light that it was in the map before. So if we went back over to rejoin as player, it would be a completely black map. Wouldn't be able to see anything. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're a little bit past our hour. Do you guys want to stop there and then regroup, or do you want to do a couple more things, or you want to do one more thing?
That's entirely up to you.
So one more thing.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So let's talk monsters. So now you've got your map. You've got your levels. You've got your dynamic lighting done. Now you're like, all right, what kind of monsters do I want to put in here? So I'm going to show you a couple things. So again, Google Images is your friend, right? So what I like to do is, I want my guys to fight some orcs. So what I'll do is orc, and either I'll do like token often works, but even just regular old orc will work. And you can see, oh, here's a bunch of orc. Oh, it's Gothmog, my favorite orc of all time. So I like this guy. So this is going to be my primary orc. So what I'll do is I'll do the same thing. I'll open the image in new tab. I'll grab it. Here's Gothmog. I will download it. This is my boy Gothmog. So I'm just going to say, call him like orc leader or something, and save him. Okay, so I've saved him. You can see down here is the downloads, but I've got him. So the next thing I'm going to do is I don't like this, right? So if I go into here, right, here's orc leader, and I want to put it on my map. So let's go to my map, but I'm kind of like, it's kind of like it's a little fluky looking, right? So if I copy and paste him over here, and here's my orc, it's going to want to squeeze him. So in this case, now we have Gothmog. That's way too fucking big. So let's go ahead and make him a regular token. And now it squeezes him. So if you look at him close, he's like kind of squeezy looking. It's a little gross. I don't like that. I think it's too large. I want to make a token out of this guy. So what I'm going to do, and I'll send you the link to this, is I'm going to go to a thing called Token Map, which is a free tool that I use extensively and I've used for years. Token Stamp. Sorry, this is this fella right here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab that and I'm going to put it in the chat so you guys have that. So this is a little online tool that's perfect for making tokens. So what you do is you click the kind of surround that you want. I like the regular one is fine. We'll just do that. And it also gives you options for background color doesn't matter because we're not going to do that. But border tint, well, orc Gothmog is kind of like a whitish, grayish orc. So I'm going to change his coloring of his thing to something, well, maybe a little darker, a little gray. Yeah, that's perfect gray. That's what I want. So this is the color I want. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. And you just click back on it and it closes back up, or it's supposed to close. Let's do that. All right. So it says drop image here to start. So I'm going to go back to my image. Here's Gothmog. And then same thing applies. You just click and hold down, drag it over here and plop it in the middle of the thing. And there's Gothmog's picture inside the circle. And you can see over here, this is what the token looks like. So in this case, we've got a rather shallow image. So I can't go too far because otherwise it'll look stupid. So I'm going to go as far as I can so that he fills the entire thing. I'm going to move him over a little bit. And then this looks pretty good. That's Gothmog. It's a token of Gothmog. Not sure I like that color. Now that I look at it, I'm going to make it a little gross looking. There we go. It's like a weird beige. Once you have this made here, you just hit download, boop, and now you have token 1. And if you go into your downloads folder, there it is, token 1. Now let's go back over here, get that back in there. It's okay. Come on, Gothmog, we're going back in. You take token 1 instead of the original picture and put it in there. And it's got a nice circle around it that you can squeeze down, and it goes right there. And it's got its own dynamic lighting already set up and everything's there. And there's your monster. Now in this case, he's a giant orc. So I'm making him 4 squares big so he can punch people in the face. And that's why, because he's a crazy orc giant. But there you go. So the next thing I'll do is, well, it's an orc, but he's an orc leader. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the D20 SRD. This is Pathfinder SRD. which I will send to you here right now. And this has all the Pathfinder 1 rules in it. So I'm going to go ahead and look at this, and I'm going to type in orc leader. See what comes up. Common orc, half orc. Oh, here we go. Is a war chief. He's a war chief, or a warlord. Let's see. I'm going to go with war chief, an orc barbarian. So here's his stat block, all ready to go. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll find these and I'll go ahead and bookmark them in one of my many folders. So you can see I have an active games folder. And so in this case, I'm going to be using it for Wrath of the Righteous. So I'll just pop in here. This is a war chief. And I'll just pop it in there and save it so that I have this stat block ready to go. And then I'll look, oh, he's got 132 hit points. So I'll go back into my thing and I will open up this character's sort of sheet. So this represents the, I don't know why this thing is so far down there. Here we go. I'm going to close that and do it this way. So here's his sheet. This is basically token settings, right? We've already done dynamic lighting. He's already there. He's already doing it, so we don't have to fuss with that. But details. So you have the token bars, the name, and then down here you have auras. So in this case, I usually, historically, I like to use the red as the health bar, right? Red is the color of health. But for our 5e game, it turns out that John Velker is significantly colorblind, so he can't see the red bars. So we'll, for that, yeah, it is unfortunate. So we'll use the green bar, which he can see. But in this case, what was it? 132 hit points. So basically, you have current value and max. So if he has 132 hit points, that's his max value. And then I put 132 in here, which means he's at full strength. And then I go over here and I hover over these little 3 things and it player permissions and I hit C. What this does is it allows the players to see the health bar. Now, you as a DM may not want them to see the health bar. I'll give you an example. Steve Schindler in his Age of Ashes game does not allow us to see the health bars of the creatures that we fight on Roll20. But I've always been, yeah, I'm gonna, you know, I want them to be able to see it so they can strategically. So that's his health. A lot of times what I'll do also is I'll say, all right, what is his AC? AC is 17. I will go here and I will put 17 in here just so I can see it. And I won't allow the players to see it. It's just for me. And then if you save that, you can see that now he has 2 bars on top of him that has his hit points here and his AC here. All right, so I'm going to reopen.
Les, do you need to turn off the edit then? I was looking under the player permissions. It says see and edit.
Edit is for you. So the players aren't allowed to edit anything. That's for you. Sometimes you may want to turn off your own editing rights so you don't accidentally sort of like screw it up. It sort of locks them down.
That's only the player that has permission for the token to edit.
Right, exactly. Only controlled by. Yeah, if it's controlled by, then they can go in and edit. But unless it's controlled by a player, you as the DM have de facto control over everything.
Right.
Okay. So a lot of times I like to put in the thing here and do a nameplate. You can set up the nameplate where only you can see it. So there's the nameplate, only we can see it. But if I say, oh no, I want them to know it's Gothmog, I want to strike fear in their hearts, I go over here, player permissions on that, I hit C, and now the players can see that it's Gothmog. They can see that nameplate there. The other thing that you sometimes do is you can say, sometimes Gothmog has, let's see if he's got any cool things. Really doesn't. But let's say he had reach, right? So he has 10-foot reach because he's using Great Axe. So he's got 10-foot reach because he's a big dude. So what I like to do sometimes is put a 10-foot aura around him so that I know who's in reach and who's not. So if I put 10 feet in here, it's a circle aura. You have multiple kinds of, you can do square too. But in this case, I want to do a circle. And then I'm not going to let the players see it because it's just for me. It's just for me, my own edification. And then I hit save settings and you can see that he has now an aura. So if I move him here, I can tell exactly who's in range of that axe and who's not.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah, it is really cool. And then, so what happens is, let's say you can do multiple, you can do 2 auras. You can move where the where the token bars are. I generally don't, but then everything's ready to go. You also have a GM notes tab, which I rarely use, but you can pipe in here. This is, any tactics or anything that you want to pop in here for this token that you may want to, review later. But there you go. Now you've got a bad guy. So what happens is combat. So say I'm going to go here and grab my fruit bat or whatever the hell this thing is again, put it up on the token layer. So now you've got a fruit bat, which is in fighting range of Gothmog. So, but the fruit bat attacks first in initiative. So he's going to attack, and he does 11 points of damage. So what you can do is you know that 132 is his current hit points, 17 AC. What you do is you click on that once, and it gives you this little window here. And what you can do is you just type in -11 for the 11 hit points. You hit enter, and it automatically reduces the hit points, and it automatically reduces the health bar. You can also type in an actual number. So if you have some place where he's been reduced to 50 hit points, you can type in, don't put the minus in, but you can type in 50, and it'll automatically move it to 50. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So the last thing I'm going to show you tonight before we break is how to show these things to your players. All right. So say you've got a creature that you've just brought up from the DM layer, and the token maybe isn't great, so you want to show it to them. What you can do is on your keyboard, you hit Shift Z, and it brings it up to show them, and it'll bring it up for everybody.
You have to be in player mode for that to work.
You have to be in GM.
Oh, there it goes. Never mind. Okay, I got it. Yeah.
Got it. So you can also just hit Z. If you hit Shift Z, it shows everybody, all the players, everything. If you just hit the Z key without the shift, it does the same, but only you can see it.
Oh.
Okay.
That's Control Z, you say?
Shift Z.
Shift Z. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You don't have to memorize all this stuff now. We'll go over it again, and
that's pretty slick.
You need to know that for the test, Tom.
Yeah. Well, I figured.
So the last thing I'm going to show you.
Choice.
True false.
So you remember when I first brought Gothmog out here, I didn't like that he had a bunch of background shit in there and that kind of stuff. It just bothered me. So there's another tool I'm going to show you, and then we'll stop, called well, I don't know what it's called. Hold on a second. Let me find it and I'll show you what it's called. So it's under tools. And I'll give you the link to this too. It is make image transparent. So this is really nice because a lot of times you don't want the background, especially if you're doing some monster of some kind, and that kind of thing. Here's the link to that. Hold on. There we go. All right. So say I'm going to find one that is this. Usually only works well with creatures that have a relatively uniform background. So like for Gothmog here, because he doesn't have uniformity in his background, there's this fibrous shit here that he's got here. This is not going to work well. So I'm not going to do this with Gothmog, but I'm going to go back here and see. Okay, here we have another orc. Oh, that's already set up. Hold on a second. All right, so here we have another orc, and you can see he's got a white background. But I want to use this orc, so I'm going to go ahead and I think this is going to be one of Gothmog's guys. So I'm going to save image. Let's see what it gives me now. It's giving me a WebP, which I think sucks. I'm going to convert it. And I'm going to save it as orc minion. What?
I'm just laughing at the image next to Gothmog there, the orc-gasm.
Oh, Harvey Weinstein?
No, one above that.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
I like the one to the right of him. That's the board of the orcs having meat on the menu.
So here's a question. How did the orcs know what a menu was?
Don't worry about it.
That would presume that Saruman has a restaurant for orcs. I'm just saying.
It's an ancient Elven thing.
So I downloaded that guy, and you can see here is orc minion right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to that page, make image transparent, and I'm going to get, and the same principle applies. I don't want it, because if I just plant this guy, let me show you what it looks like. If I just plant this guy in the thing, it's not going to look cool. And
because he has that big white thing.
he has a big white box, right? So even if we smallen him down to normal size, he still has that white box, and it just looks unprofessional, frankly. So I don't like it. I'm getting rid of it, and we're going to do it this way. So we're going to use make image transparent, and we're going to plop orc minion over here, and you kind of have to wait for it to go blue. It's kind of tricky a little bit, but wait for it to go blue. And then what it does is it gives you it allows you to sort of do this. So there's a slider. So what I do is I slide it over to the left to make sure that I have all of the dude. Be careful.
But it kills the background.
You want the background. So you want to look for that checkerboard, right? That's that tells you that the background is clear, transparent, as opposed to white. Okay.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
So I've got all the dude. I've even got the little thing here. So I'm going to go ahead and download my transparent image. Orc minion ping, that's a PNG instead of a JPEG. And then I'm gonna go back to here and get my thing. You can see, okay, here's orc minion 1. Here's the orc minion we just did. Now we plant him over here. And well, it's a little crunchy, so I might redo that, but you can see that the background is now clear.
Actually, the crunch is not bad at all.
No.
There you go. And then you just kind of like scoot him down to size, and then you do the same thing. He's got so many hit points. You know, maybe he's got.
Now, when you hit the Shift Z, it will show a bigger.
Right. So if I click on him
image.
and I go Shift Z, and yeah, it'll show the transparent image.
Cool.
And you just click outside of it. There you go. And so that between the transparent background images and the tokens, the token maker, you can actually make something that looks really good.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Good.
All right. We're going to stop there. I want you guys to do this. We'll set up maybe something up for sometime middle of next week, maybe, and we'll do more. In the meantime, think of some questions, play around with stuff, and you know, hit me up if you have questions. But do your own maps, make your own lighting, set your defaults. You can always delete, you know, if you get something where it's all screwed up, just delete it, start over. It's okay. You know, nobody's gonna take you out behind the woodshed if you screw up a map.
I would.
But you are a purist, Luke. All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Let's go.
All right, thanks, Les.
Okay. Les, thanks.
You guys are welcome. Absolutely. And next time we'll get more deeper into like character sheets and other map stuff, and you know how you can use the different layers in certain ways.
And then when you go to close this, it automatically saves on Roll20 under.
It's all saved. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah, I could do that. So I will actually. You know what? I'll just close it. I'll remove all of them, and so I'm going to go over here, open up Roll20 again. And I will go into test game 1, and you can either jump into the main screen or you can just launch it right from here. And you can see that we're right back here and everything's there.
That's really cool. All right. And then you hope to upload this video, is that correct?
Yeah, once we get off the Zoom, the cloud will tell me when it's done processing it. I'll download it and I'll upload it to YouTube. I'll have it up there probably within the hour.
All right. Thanks for messing with this, man.
Not at all. I'm happy to show you guys. You know, one of the things it would be awesome if everybody's DMing games, everybody's playing in games. The more games, the better. I figure in this world, the more games, the better.
Well,
all right.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, you guys. We'll set something up maybe for a week and a half. I'll stay. Yeah. Hang on. Hold on. Let me go ahead and stop this. I'll stop the recording.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Absolutely. Anytime. Hit me up with questions. Hit me up with problems. I'm happy to address any of them in between now and the next time we meet.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Gotcha.
Good
So
idea.
how would you run that with the ship-to-ship battle? No, I'm just.
Well, some of these things, I mean, sometimes you have to be a little more creative, right? So for a and I've run ship-to-ship battles. Usually what I did in that case, what I used was an isometric map, so that to try and get some of the depth involved, you know, and sort of mimic the idea of depth. We had one instance where Matt Meadow was playing a necromancer, and he got separated from his ship. So he pulled together a whole bunch of dead guys and formed them into his own dead guy ship, and then sort of catapulted it back at the ship, which crashed into the ship he was trying to reach and sort of splattered dead people all over the place. It was a hell of a scene.
Sounds awesome.
It was a hell of a thing when Xanatopsis crashed the dead guy's ship into the other ship.
Corpse Cruise.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Sounds good. Take
All
care,
right.
all.
My
See ya.
pleasure. Grab
Yep.
those links, or I can send them. I can send them out to everybody on by email too if you didn't grab them from the chat. But yeah,
I got 'em off the chat.
there's a lot of great tools. Google Images is I've stolen everything, and I have terabytes of shit. So, but it's all out there for you. I mean, don't feel like you're ever going to hurt anybody's feelings by grabbing something. You're not making money off it. You're not selling it to other people. You're just using it for your games. So there's just tons of stuff out there. And usually you'll see that if you've got an adventure, and we'll talk about Marketplace next time, but sometimes you can buy the adventure and it's already made. You have all the maps, all the tokens, it's all ready to go. You just tweak it a little bit and you're good to go. Or if you're doing a specific, like a module or something, you can Google that on Google Images, like there's a specific creature in the module, and they'll have images of it. And you just grab those images and you're using the actual images from the module. It's awesome.
Cool, man.
I just find sometimes that the maps are too shitty for me to use, so I have to go find my own maps.
It's fun to make your own.
I'm a purist. Yeah, well, so that's something that Lucas brought up, is that at some point we might want to talk about having Incarnate lessons, which so Incarnate is an online map maker that's really it's really good. You can really do some interesting stuff with it about making your own maps. It's really cool. So I think that's a great idea.
Of those occasionally. Every once in a
But
while.
I can't teach it because I don't know jack shit about it, Incarnate. So.
Well, fuck.
I'm gonna have to find somebody who knows it. Tom Rowe knows Incarnate pretty well. He's done some really nice work in Incarnate. So
Has he? Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
we'll get him to do it.
Use him.
All right, gentlemen. Have a
Thanks.
great night. We'll set
Good to
something
see
up
you.
for next week.